Okay, and just to properly introduce everyone, I'm going to share my screen with you. And also to mention just that everything is right on place. You are on the webinar about interconnect demonstrators of energy applications open call, the second open call of interconnect project. And today we are all gathered here to answer all the important questions that you might have to us, and also to present you a little bit the project and the open call itself. And we have here David Roy from Inestec. Also Milenko Tosik, Director of our Innovation Visalore. These are our tech experts. Also here with us is Rosa Villaronga. She is the project manager of the side of the funding box. And Marta Dziarnowska, which is me, and I am marketing specialist of funding box. What will be going on in the agenda? Firstly, we will introduce you with the interconnect goals and achievements. Then we will talk a little bit about energy applications, technological requirements. And after that, Rosa will take over and tell you all about the open call that we are talking specifically today. She will give you some tips and tricks on how to apply. After that, there will be the Q&A session that I've already mentioned. So please feel free to prepare your questions for this part so you will be able to ask them. Okay, I believe that David, you can take over the screen and start your part.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll try to do it right now. Let me know if you're seeing my screen, my presentation. I'll try to put it full screen. Just let me know if you're seeing full screen.
We do.
Yes,
okay.
We do.
Okay, so good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining today's webinar. So this is the second webinar about the interoperability in energy applications, which is part of the project's second open call, where, as you will see in the next minutes and throughout the next hour, I would say, how the project is supporting companies, those that are entrepreneurs, those that want to create and help to create a set of interoperable solutions based on energy applications. We'll have an opportunity, we'll see here today how they can do it, how the project can help them in creating these applications. What is this all about? So we'll talk a bit more in detail about, and how then we'll explain the due diligence in the process. So for today, the idea is to explain you the opportunities that we have here today, then to at all times to reply to questions, to uncertainties and some point that you have. I see some familiar faces from the audience. But anyhow, feel free always to, besides asking us here, of course, today, to reach us out offline through our emails and our contacts about any questions that you may have. So this is part of the Interconnect project. So you may know the Interconnect project already. It's a large European project that it's focused on producing interoperable solutions for buildings and grids. So our purpose is to develop a set of digital platforms and integrate different technologies that range from residential applications, residential buildings to tertiary buildings. We've focused on, since the very beginning, because that was the nature of the project, to target the interoperability from the semantic part. So we were already assuming that we have a significant grounds on the synthetic side, mostly governed by several plethora of standards and mapping of information already posted in the, let's say, in the general public. And we're basically focusing on using ontologies. One of them is SAREP, which is reference ontology from ETSI, to which we have made our development round of it. So our approach and our focus on the project was to demonstrate at a certain point that we are able to use different platforms and different systems in different contexts. You can see here that we are showcasing this in seven different large-scale pilots in Portugal, Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, Italy, Greece, and France, which is comprehensive from the European landscape. But we are tailoring there the use of semantic interoperability and service and model technology to support different use cases. And these use cases stem from energy use cases that you may be fully well known, that use the part of demand side flexibility to produce advantages and clear gains for end users, and end users don't need to be just residential end users. We are also targeting tertiary users, so corporate users that also manage buildings. In this case, for instance, one example or a couple of examples is the Portuguese case that has supermarkets and the German case that has hotel chains. Basically, in producing this set of services that also reach out to non-energy services, such as comfort, use of data, leveraging of data, and so forth. To achieve that, we've developed a set of key exploitable results that I'll talk to you in detail, mostly two of them, that we believe allow us, not only for us ourselves as a consortium, to clearly demonstrate how all of this can go into the field, but also others to pick up on our developments, actually to increment on those developments, and hopefully to post those developments in the public domain, as we did from our, let's say, publications that we have already. For instance, in our Git lab with all of the code and everything developed, fully posted there and available, to which you can also contribute as part of this open call. So we are a very large consortium comprised by R&D institutions, companies, private and public institutions, a large pool of manufacturers, integrators, and service providers that you see everywhere. And we are set to showcase all of this interoperability in different frames. So without going too much detail, the mission from the project is clear. I've already referred previously. So we've departed from an existing TRL6 implementations based on Spine, Fireware, and other implementations such as the EVAS interface that allow us to combine those with Sarif in the first versions of Sarif, to which we have been contributing, to actually go forward and understand what we could do, what was missing already there. So we set the use cases and the services that would need to be demonstrated here. Again, large scale, the energy and non-energy angle that I was referring to a while ago, where the focus would be on this improved use cases with existing technology, new technologies that don't actually exist in the market, but now are becoming common, and hopefully there will be a clear reality in the next years. And then to show that this increment that we're doing here actually boosts existing technologies there. So we have cases where we are developing these interfaces for semantic interoperability from the get-go. There are others that we're doing adaptations on top of that. All of this to show that it's possible to use the same tools for different applications in different stages. Ultimately, this semantic interoperability, again, based on Sarif, is achieved with one major cornerstone that we have in the project, which is the interoperability framework, actually defined as a semantic interoperability framework, which is the basis in which we define all of the modules and all of the components that allow everyone willing to become semantically interoperable using Sarif to use those modules and to produce the necessary adaptations. We have even adapters, semantic adapters in between, to clearly go to the same plane of interoperability where everyone should be able to exchange information. Again, we've mapped different core technologies in this process. One of them is, of course, the Sarifization process, because we do need to focus on the common plane where we exchange the meaning of data and not so much the data structures. Those are already assumed to be very well defined. And they are clustered to produce what we call the Sarified service, which can be more low level directed towards the appliance, or it can be a bit more high level directed towards the service itself. We combine, of course, the usual trends, AI and machine learning. The focus is, of course, to integrate the IoT overall, because we are installing sensing and controlling equipment, and then to trigger what we hope to be, let's say, a general use of gamification strategies in the different consumers, peer-to-peer marketplaces to implement, and interaction with the grid side, which is, by the way, a very specific key exploitable result that we have in the project. So those pilots that I was mentioning a while ago is where we are deploying this. What's important to mention here is that this open call will open the front for additional pilots for other countries. So as you will see, we have a very clear mindset established for the participation here for member states for the application itself. And the applications is one specific use case that can be combined with existing pilots with a setup of agile pilots to actually demonstrate this using the same approach that we had using the rest of the project. And hopefully to reach out this interoperable by adoption demonstrations where we clearly pass on this information, we pass on these tools for people to, for providers to use, for people to have access to those services, and to be able to showcase that there's also a technical front that it's facilitated by this semantic interoperability developments in the project, but also a business opportunity that it's introduced here by the different participants here, because ultimately the main goal of participating not only in the project but also in the open calls is to demonstrate all that these solutions that we're producing here do live on and do provide, let's say, a step in for either a market entered or a market maturation on a service or a technology that's already on paper or with hoping for a financing to reach out to the market. So we have the support to that. Gozo will talk about more on that in detail. So our key front that we have here is, in fact, the semantic interoperability framework. Basically, the idea is, again, to go for domain-centric interoperability and not so much for specific interoperability. This is where we can actually exchange information based on meaning. So we're exchanging knowledge in between the different systems. And for that to take place, we do need to have to reach out this semantic side of interoperability, where we're representing more than data, we're representing the meaning of data. For that, then we have on the center here, all of the tools that allow different services and platforms to be combined together with what we call one interconnection point, which is then translated into an adapter. And this adapter can be then a generic adapter, then a service-specific adapter. It depends on the specialization front that you have. But basically, to let you know that if you want to use a semantic interoperability plane, then you have these adapters at your availability and the tools to produce those adapters in your specific case, because each manufacturer, each service provider then has its own way of implementing their own back systems. And this is ensured this way to preserve trade secrets, to preserve information that the manufacturers and competitors in the market are not willing to share upfront, and still make sure that whichever is the action that it's produced between two different services or more that are combined are clearly understood and interpreted by each one of them clearly. So this means that if you're in an interoperability plane, then you can register service that you can select from this pool of services, marketplace of services. Then you can use the framework itself to configure its own levels of security, and then also to use the support services for service administration in a service store that you typically find in other fronts. This is actually the core of the project. This is also what is available right now. It will be produced by the participants on the open calls to then specialize specific service and even to publish those services in our own service store so others would instantiate and use those services. These services should be referred to services that in this case are tailored towards a very specific approach, which is the energy applications. As you will see, the focus is engaging consumers in acting upon grid signals, and these grid signals that stem from different platforms need to reach out to the semantic interoperability plane in a way that the other service, like the ones that are being developed by the participants in the open call, understand what it's being requested of them on, again, semantic plane, and react to that and pass on this information to decision makers, consumers like ourselves that we are, to actually decide on best timing of the day to use the energy. But you'll see more on those details with Milenko in the next slides. But ultimately, this part, it would allow us to clearly, again, as I was telling you, to use this part of the interconnectors, the service-specific adapter that you develop on your own case, to use a generic adapter that we've made it available within our frameworks, and then to clearly deploy semantically interoperable services from end to end, or multiple ends to end, to produce the end result. So here in this open call, you are incentivized to create a cluster of stakeholders to produce this energy app. And this is where we can combine different services from these different stakeholders easily or more easily using our frameworks that we have. So we have legacy data being produced downwards, but that legacy service is pushed into the semantic front with the tarifization process that we also did for our own services that we are showcasing in the project demonstrators. The DSO interface, it's also a similar approach. this one that you saw from the semantic interoperability framework is a generic approach. So what we've called a generic implementation for whichever is the service that you have for exchange data for demand-side flexibility. One particular aspect was to also bridge this out with the grid side. So this is why we've created DSO interface as a specialization. And it's for some of you that may be familiar with the energy industry, it needs to be very specific because this is a very conservative industry. This is where the testing is much more critical and the available information needs to be retested and revalidated. But still, this is what allows the DSOs to use a specialization of the semantic interoperability framework to actually push in specific services to the grid. So we're talking about services, for instance, on the provision of data from smart meters or any other sources that comes from the consumers, which can actually allow different other services to be produced, which is the ability to produce more observable cases in the distribution grids. You can also then cluster services related with the energy use, which basically pertains to energy retailing, where you're basically interacting with a set of services with the DSO, with the retailers, and with the consumers. Mostly because the idea, and this is already a massive challenge from other fronts with the smart grids that were created many years ago, to create ways of exchanging information from the grid operators with service providers to allow them both the ability to use flexibility from a pool of their own representees, and then to decide on how to use that flexibility to support the grid. So the DSO, for instance, as an independent party, can request flexibility actions for specific service providers. Using the same rationale from the semantic interoperability framework, the DSO interface allows these services to be published on a specific plane of the DSO. So the DSO takes into account the flexibility data exchange that you see posted here, the ability also to post in price-driven incentives such as dynamic tariffs, then general information stemming from smart meter and other metering informations there. Ultimately, this information will reach out to the end consumer, either directly, either via a proxy, which is typically a home energy management system that provides not only the capability of providing more treated data that has a bit more meaning regarding the use of energy on each specific end consumer, and then interact with DSO and the service provider to allocate specific loads towards the grid support cases. So this is much more specific when compared to the semantic interoperability framework, but it still follows the same rationale of having a set of service pushed in the service store that are clearly instantiated for very specific cases, which is typically to support the grid operation. So this is the plane in which different adapters can be used the same way we had in the semantic interoperability framework, which in the case of this interface, it's specific on the type of services that this pertains, because these are, as it was already mentioned by me, very related to the grid support service. So this is the way that the DSOs can have access to the pools of flexibility that can be provided by third parties and consumer side, so demand side flexibility providing those services. We're basically using the same set of standards, low level. This interoperability is ensured with these semantic adapters that are being made available and developed by each own service provider. So if this is agreed, this is what allows the DSOs then on their backend to integrate their differentiated systems to provide additional information upon which requests can be made to the participants and receive information from those participants to enrich the information they already have from their own backend system. So this is clearly a win-win situation where we expect that the participants also can derive benefits from this. This relates also to this new open call because one of the important parts is to provide the signals to the consumers. As you will see later on, the idea of providing signals to the consumer stems from the grid. And one important part of the grid is, of course, the DSO. As you will see, we have the vision of a global perspective from DSO level. The DSO is regarded here as a specialization for each of the actions that the consumers can have more directed towards the specificities of the distribution grids. For instance, to determine that a particular part of the distribution grid is more prone to support any of the requests that comes from the level of the member states, because it's more likely to participate given the load flexibility or the energy resources that the DSO is in a position of characterizing way better than a high level perspective. So all of this will fall in together in what we hope to be a set of 10 participants from this open calls, from which we'll pick up the 7 best to produce this open calls. And this is something that will be, as Milenko will explain in a few minutes, a keystone here to actually show that the project can provide these solutions, that we can learn from the whole process, and show that overall European-wise that this is an implementation that benefits from interoperability to ease the deployment of different context implementations. More on that in a few seconds. So this is the vision that I have for you today regarding the project. Milenko will talk about the extensing of the semantic interoperability side. Passing also the floor to him to make the presentation on his side, so he's picking up on the slides. The idea is then to focus on what could be the signals received from the grid side to the consumers. But I'll pass on the floor to Milenko. I don't know, Milenko, if you want me to keep on the slides or if you can pick up.
I will share them. I will share them.
Okay, passing on to you.
Thanks, David. Okay, now I can share my screen. You should be able to see it.
Yes, it's visible.
Excellent, thank you. So, hi everyone, I'm Milenko from Visual Labs Foundation, and I'm going to introduce some of the main concepts and the guiding principles behind the set for the Common European Reference Framework for energy and the energy apps demonstrators that should be based on this core for information sharing. First, to give you some context to the Common European Reference Framework and the energy apps based on them. The overarching goal is to demonstrate that EU is ready to capitalize on innovative technologies supplied either by the research projects and the innovative organizations, all in favor of mitigating the impact of energy crisis. It is seen that the consumers are the main partners in achieving this goal. The partnership is based on possibilities to use innovative technology to improve energy savings, reduce energy bills, empower users to make a really measurable impact on stabilizing the supply of the energy. The key technological advancements that must support this vision are the enablers for achieving inter and intra-domain interoperability on all levels to allow this unobstructed share of information and knowledge that can support these scalable use cases. In a simplified sense, the goal is to use the interoperable ecosystems of stakeholders and services to be able to pass signals from the grid side to the consumers through chains of interoperable services. Now we present the 2 stages in which this set for the Common European Reference Framework for Energy and the Energy App Demonstrators are planned to be realized. First of all of this is happening under the umbrella of EU Action Plan for Digitalizing the Energy System. 2 important inputs that are steering this direction are reports from the ETRA on energy platforms and consumer applications, and the Smart Grid Task Force report on Common European Reference Framework for Consumer Applications. There are 2 stages envisioned for developing the SERF and the energy app demonstrators. The first stage is led by the Interconnect project. And at this stage, the SERF and the energy app demonstrator should use publicly available data sources in most cases. Let's say this is the groundwork that is expected, to use publicly available data sources, anonymized smart metering data, and also information that can be provided or collected on the side of the end users through the energy apps themselves. This stage, we are also targeting groups of users on different either geographical level or with specific energy consumption profiles, like electric vehicle owners and so on. So basically grouping the users and not so much targeting individuals with personalized recommendations. At the core will be these recommendation services that provide general consumption schedules and eco tips. Also, the first stage envisions that consumers manually perform the actions and interventions based on the received recommendation. Feedback on the performed actions is also collected manually. Everything that goes beyond this is highly encouraged, of course. For implementation, this stage relies on interconnect semantic interoperability framework and DSA interface that David presented, as well as on other interoperable services developed by the project partners. The project will also provide blueprint implementations of the Energy App backend and front-end components that can be reused to demonstrate SERF and validate the user participation in the pilots. These blueprints can be used as a basis for subsequent developments and innovations. And of course, all the participants are welcome to bring their own solutions that already operate in the market. In the first stage, the goal is to demonstrate Energy Apps and the Common European Reference Framework in 10 member states. 4 pilots are supplied by the Interconnect project. These are Portugal, Italy, the Netherlands, and Greece, while the remaining 6 hopefully are going to be covered through this open call. The stage 2 of the development. In this next stage, there will be a call for projects, and the Common European Reference Framework and the Energy App Demonstrators will be expanded with smart metering data, targeting individual customers with highly personalized recommendations and tips, and the actions will be automated through different energy management systems. To recap, the goal is to enable EU member states to be better prepared for the energy crisis, to manage energy supply stability by empowering consumers to actually participate in solving the energy challenges. All this by using innovative technology supplied by the projects and organizations, starting with Interconnect project and its experience in building cross-domain semantically interoperable ecosystems, capitalizing on the key enablers like semantic interoperability framework and the DSO interface. With these tools, the key stakeholders can exchange knowledge in semantically interoperable manner and build energy apps using common enablers to drastically speed up the process of rolling out new consumer-facing services. So, according to the direction of the energy system that the European Commission is driving, this will be the new play field, let's say, for innovations for consumer-facing services to bring them to the energy system as active participants and decision makers. The Interconnect approach goes towards building SERF as semantically interoperable ecosystem of key stakeholders. So basically, allowing this interoperable exchange of data coming from different data sources, not pooling any data at certain like large database or something like that and serving through a specific API, but basically bringing the interoperability to the source of information that is relevant for this system to operate. On one side, we have public data sources like the NSOE transparency portal and also various regional and country-specific data services. We also include grid system operators through the DSO interface and the service adapters. From there, we get data and grid signals that are fed into the recommender system. So complex data sources like the NSOE transparency portal can provide information on the level of the countries and these, let's say, market domains and cross-border balancing markets, while wherever DSO can also be brought in to participate, or any stakeholders that can bring in the distribution system level data can provide a finer granularity insight into the status and the needs of parts of the grid that are requiring action from the end consumers. Yes, the data flow is facilitated by the semantic interoperability framework. The interoperable recommender service provides day-ahead consumption plans and different recommendations on how to utilize the energy for the day ahead, as well as eco tips. The consumption plans guide consumers to make meaningful impact onto grid stability, while eco tips actually educate consumers on the best way to achieve the recommended consumption reduction. The signals and recommendations are supplied through Energy App backend and user interface. So Interconnect project is actually already developing these solutions and will supply, let's call it a white label Energy App to demonstrate the SERF and the Energy App in 4 pilots. The participants coming through this open call can also reuse this or bring their own solutions that can be made semantically interoperable and specialized to really be integral part of the SERF deployed in the country where the applicants are coming from. Regarding the services that we are envisioning, first we start with what we call a mandatory energy app system configuration comprising 2 main services. This is on a high logical level. First, grid service capable of providing grid signals to guide the customers. That can be either on TSO or DSO level. And the second service that interfaces directly with the end consumers, and these can be Energy App backend and front-end services. Next, we plan to add more types of services in the mixture, like services from the energy market and retailers, energy management systems from home, building, or community level, and energy consumption monitoring and profiling services. The goal is to create an ecosystem where these services can be chained in custom manner for each instance of SERF. So basically, like the semantic interoperability framework can be instantiated by each pilot in the project or each integrator outside of the project as well. So is the SERF provided as a set of enablers to be instantiated on a level of different markets and regions. This allows creation of highly customized and specialized energy apps with the same building blocks and capitalizing on the same interoperable data exchange facilitated with the semantic interoperability framework and this SERF. So really building this large pool of semantically interoperable data connections that innovative organizations can use to tap into these data sources and provide meaningful value for the consumers. First, let's say how at the end of this process, the rolling out a new instance of the Common European Reference Framework and basically setting up a new energy app in a specific region would look like. First, deploying this SERF, or basically instantiating the semantic interoperability framework that is described in the public wiki page. This process is actually described in the public wiki page of the project. Then onboarding different stakeholders and service providers to the system by allowing them really to adopt the interconnect service adapters, perform deserialization with all the know-how and best practices coming from the project. Next, integrating open data sources whenever available. So in different regions, in different countries, there are specific data sources that are open to be used and that can be basically integrated in a sense that a data ingestion service is going to be prepared like an API endpoint. And deserialization is also going to be performed there so that the data flow can happen in semantically interoperable manner. For the moment, the project is focusing on the N-Suite Transparency Portal as one of these data sources. There are also specific country-specific data sources coming from the 4 pilots that are working on the Energy App Demonstrators. Then we come to the configuration and deployment of the interoperable recommender service. So there is a possibility to reuse the recommender services developed by the Interconnect project, and there is also a possibility to be innovative on the side of the integrators and to develop and set up new recommender services that on one side take in the information and data coming from the stakeholders in the SERF, and on the other side provide the recommendation and tips for the end users. Then basically deploying the energy app itself with its backend and front end or the mobile side. For this, the project is also supplying the or will supply the blueprints and the white labeled implementation of the backend side with all the semantic service adapters for different data sources that need to operate, as well as the possibility to run at the side of the energy app backend, the recommender service itself. And on the front end side as well, reuse the components that the project is provided with. We also envision that on this side, on the application side, there will be the most innovation and the most customization happening on the side of all integrators, because this is where the integrators show how well they know their consumers and end users and how they want to provide added value services to them. And basically, we end up with continuously scalable SERF on the level of Europe. Again, these local SERF instances on a country or on a regional level, or city level, whatever, can, with supporting the same semantic interoperability paradigms, can exchange information among themselves and basically create a large semantically interoperable ecosystem on the level of the whole European Union, allowing for even more scalable solutions to be introduced. Basically, by instantiating a SERF on a country level or in a region, in a market where you already operate, you indirectly open your services, or you are enabled to open your services on the Europe level, basically using the same solutions that you apply on a more constrained, geographically constrained region. This is just a really quick and high-level depiction of our direction with the energy app demonstrator and the SERF that it is based on. So basically, these are some mock-up screens of the energy app, mobile energy app that we are developing. First screen, we have, for example, the onboarding process where users provide access to their location, indicating like a zip code or a market they belong to. This allows us to group users and provide these recommendations to specific groups. Next, there is a setup wizard for collecting some contextual information used for profiling consumers for more relevant recommendations. Here is where basically a lot of information can be collected from the end users, or it can be chosen to completely skip this one. So basically, this is where another level of innovation and streamlining can happen. The application provides daily eco tips, keeping users engaged and educating them about different ways to use and save energy. The main functionality is the hourly consumption recommendation schedule, where the energy app system informs end users on when the grid needs their cooperation so that the energy stability is ensured. End users can provide feedback on the realized actions through the push notifications and the app interface. So basically, once receiving their head recommendation for when to restrain from using the energy, consumers can say, okay, I'm following the recommendations, and this can be one way of collecting the feedback. Of course, at later stages, the feedback can also be collected automatically, and this execution on the energy saving can also happen automatically through the energy management systems. Energy app backend and front end are where the innovation from applicants comes from. What the project develops at this stage can be used as a technology and code basis or high-level guidance on the implementing new and innovative user and engaging application services. But basically, what we expect is that you know your client base or your end user base best, and you know how to serve them added value that the SERF itself can supply to the consumers. So this is where your innovative step is actually coming to, and we are really looking forward to seeing your ideas. That's it from my side regarding the energy app part of the session.
Perhaps if we just read some of the questions that were posted here. I was replying to Kelly about the questions online. First of all, if residential consumers are the only ones, yes, they are the key targets there, although combinations can be there. And there are a second question that came here regarding the business model and the willingness for the end participants to take this business model to pay for that. I would say the paying for that, it doesn't need to be, let's say, money about that, which is the purpose of focusing on something that combines different fronts, where, for instance, dynamic price tariffs could be also a way to engage the consumer besides the grid signal. So the part of the business perspective is still open. The main focus is we need to pass on information, as Milenko said, directly to the consumers and make them participate to the potential limitations that may arise from the grid. And these limitations stem from this energy crisis that we're now in. And what the Commission wants to have is to make sure that we have a wide participation of everyone in the European landscape, to clearly allow the different European citizens to participate in and to help within the interconnected system. Mark, question, I don't really understand. Well, that's a broad statement. All the apps existing already, or you are looking to develop an existing energy app further? We have a grounds to develop an app, and this is the reason why we need to develop the app itself for the different countries, because different countries have different specificities, and you may engage different stakeholders. And this purpose of engaging different stakeholders is what specializes the app itself. What we've proposed, and Milenko already mentioned, is this idea of passing on at the end consumer sort of a traffic light system, so the consumers themselves, the end representatives, understand what is the best timing for them to consume or not, based on what could be a particular event or a medium to long-term event in the energy grid, which goes beyond the negotiated prices and negotiated services within the grid themselves. I don't know if Milenko, if you want to add something more from your end.
Basically, what I think that what the Commission wants to do is to do a bit more brute force approach. Interconnect project is deploying 4 pilots and really working on the energy app specific to those. And we also want through the open call to achieve and onboard additional energy apps. So basically, if you are already providing some sort of solution for or a service facing the consumers, great. This is an excellent starting point. If you're not, you can also start working on a new one, or also leverage what the project is going to develop in the coming couple of months. So yeah, we want to demonstrate, basically, we are building this CERF, or the Common European Reference Framework, as a interconnected network of data sources coming from different stakeholders, coming from open data sources, so that those innovative organizations that can that are actually facing the consumers can tap into this data source and provide meaningful and added values to the end users, actually, through the apps.
Thank you, Milenko. Thank you, David. So I believe right now Rosa will introduce to you the assumptions of the second open call of the Interconnect.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Milenko, David. I will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much, David and Milenko, for this technical explanation of the energy application open call. My name is Rosa Villaronga. I'm working in Funding Box. Funding Box is responsible for the management of the open call from the legal formal point of view. Today I will go very quick for some of the eligible criteria and benefits of the open call, give you some tips on how to write your proposal and success in that, and leave time at the end to solve your questions live. So the main benefits of the open call is selected experiments will receive up to 100K equity-free funding, along with the access to the CERF, the Common European Reference Framework for Energy Saving Applications, and will be invited to a 7 months customized support program, where they will working with technical and business mentors to support in further developments of the energy application. Participants, the support program is divided in 3 main stages. In the first stage, 10 beneficiaries will be invited to create, to develop the specification and development plan and receive up to 10,000 euros. Once these development plans are validated and approved by the mentors and the selection committee, we will organize what we call a selection day, where we will select only the 7 more successful projects. These 7 projects will be invited to fully complete the support program. With regards to who can apply, SMEs, mid-caps, and large companies registered in any European countries, plus UK, are eligible to participate. But in terms of the demonstrations in Portugal, Netherlands, Italy, and Greece are not eligible in this open call, because as Milenko and David were explaining, the project itself, Interconnect itself, has use cases in these countries. At the end of the selection process, only 1 project per country will be selected, because the idea is we have these 4 pilots in these countries, and the idea is to have different use cases in 7 different countries. Regarding on how to apply, the application form is made online through Fundingbox platform. The platform is very intuitive and is divided in different sections. The most important one is the red first section, where you can find all the documents that not only explain what is the scope of the open call, but also the eligible criteria, some questions, the frequently asked questions document that we are gathering from you through the different channels that we have. So it's a living document that is regularly updated. You can also find the sub-grant agreement, so you can check if you at the end is selected, what type of agreement you will sign with Interconnect project. It's also available the application form, so you can have access to an offline application form that can help you to prepare it in advance on offline, the information that we will request you through the online platform. The application form is divided in 8 main sections, only 7 are mandatory, and the excellence, impact, and implementation are the ones that are scored. So it's the ones that the evaluators, once you pass the eligibility check, I will explain later how looks the evaluation process. But these 3 ones are not the most important one, because all of them are important, but you have to be in mind that are the ones that the external expert that assess and score your proposal will take into consideration. In the excellent section, you have to provide the full functional and technical description of your project. So the evaluators will pay special attention to the ambition and the differentiation of your solution in comparison with the others. And it is very important. Under this excellent section, you are asked to provide that we call the technology description architecture. This document that is you have to upload, so it's not filling online. You are asked to document which components of the Interconnect semantic interoperability framework you will be using in your project. So please pay attention to this. It's mandatory, so you are not able to save and submit, but don't forget to upload the proper document. In the impact score, you have to show the market potential and the business model and your commercial strategy, and describe how the cross-sectoral and pan-European impact of your project. Implementation is very important because you have to demonstrate the technical competencies of your team, but not only technical, so how much diverse is your team as the better. I mean, we are looking for teams that has different background, not only in the technological part, but also in business, in marketing, that allow us to see that you have a holistic team working in this project. And then declaration of owner and possession of formal data are legal requirements that you have to check. So, some important tips that can seem very obvious, but not always is the same. We only receive applications before the deadline and through the Funding Box platform. So if you has a last moment technical problem and you send, you submit or you send your proposal through our help desk or email, this proposal is not eligible. Multiple submissions are not allowed, but in the event that for some reason we receive two proposals from the same company, only the last submitted will be evaluated. You can submit your proposal when all the mandatory fields are complete. And we encourage you to submit your proposal when it's ready or almost ready, because you always will have time to edit as many times as you need the content before the deadline. So in this submitting the proposal before the deadline with time, we will avoid these last minute technical problems that can jeopardize the submission of your proposal. Important, and I think is very useful, is you can add people that can contribute to writing the proposal. So when you open the application, when you open the application, you will find in the top of the main page this add contributor. So by clicking in this plus symbol, a new menu will be open that you have to write the email of the people in your team that help you to write the proposal, submit, and this person will receive this invitation automatically by the email and will have access to the proposal and write the proposal with you. You can add as many contributors as you need. How to write a winning proposal? I think, we think that a winning proposal has 6 essential ingredients and are listed here. Is the rationale behind the funding opportunity, and is take your time to become an expert in understanding what is the context of the open call you are participating in. It's very important to read the guide for applicants, all the documents related with the open call, but also understand, read underlines, and understand what are the project, in this case, Interconnect project's main goals. So please read the main documents of the open call, guide for applicants, frequently asked questions, technical guide that we will provide through the guide for applicants, but also check the website of the project. Understand the rationale of what Interconnect project is looking for by launching this open call. Put yourself in the evaluator mode. So you have to be aware that be successful means to convince the people that will assess and score your proposal. So experts have to interpret the rationale behind your proposal and decide whether this it fits with the criteria. So you may have the best proposal ever, but if it's presented in an unclear way, the evaluator has difficulties to find the rationale behind your solution your solution, the chance that your solution or your project has to succeed will decrease. So think on what can make the evaluator's life easier. So be clear, be simple, go to the point, and read in each of the sections of the application form. You will find some questions that give you some hints of what the evaluator will look for in this specific section. The consortium and team, in this case, in this specific open call, we are looking for individuals, not consortiums, but it's very important to describe properly the team. So it's not just to write the names and the position in your company. You have to describe the skills and the complementary of these skills. So as I said before, design this thing in a holistic view that integrate balance in science from different backgrounds, technical, business, marketing, but also have in mind the gender balance. The innovation on of your proposal, try to demonstrate that you understand what is the problem that the open call documents highlight and how your specific solution will solve it in a very different way to the others, and make how your proposal is different from the others. The problem-solving approach, that all the documentation is how you are telling, how your storytelling is pivoting around the project, around the problem that the Interconnect project through this open call want to solve, and has an European dimension. And in this case, it's true that we don't need cross countries project, so your project can be demonstrated in only one country, in Europe, but you have to demonstrate that you are able to communicate the results and reach European audience, and the potential of replicability of your solution in other European countries. So now that you already wrote your successful proposal, we will evaluate and assess it. The evaluation process is in three main stages. The first eligibility check, that is, we will make a first check to check that the proposal is complete, that's readable in English, that all mandatory fields are filling. It's true that you cannot submit the proposal if the mandatory fields are not filled, but they have to fill in a completed way. It's not just one sentence that the evaluators will not understand anything. And it's very important, the declaration of honor. So read carefully the statements in the declaration of honor. You have doubts in some of them because maybe can mislead the information. Ask us, because there are some important statement that you have to declare, for example, that you don't have conflict of interest with any partners in Interconnect, that if it's not checked in the proper, if it's not filling or check it in the proper way, you can be marked as illegal. So please read all of these statements. If you have doubt in how to reply because it's confusing the question with answer, please ask us and be sure that are all complete. All eligible proposals will move to the next stage, that is external evaluation. 3 external experts will assess and score your proposal. It's very important to have in mind that there are some thresholds that allow you to move to the next stage. These thresholds are 3. You have to receive 3 points in each individual criteria, and 10 in the sum of these 3. Once we have all these proposals above the threshold, we prepare a ranking list. This ranking list is shared with the selection committee that is composed by 3 technical partners, TNO, Wiesler Foundation, and Inestec, plus Funding Box from the business point of view. And this selection committee will discuss based on this ranked list the proposal that will be invited to the next stage, that is the sub-grant agreement preparation. Once you have in this stage, we run the what we call the formal check. So these companies, your company, will be asked to submit some formal and financial data from your company that will allow us to prepare the sub-grant agreement signature. Right after the sub-grant agreement signature, you already are a beneficiary of interconnect projects who will be invited to the support program. Support program will start beginning of August. We know that is not the best best month of the year, but due to the time frame of interconnect project itself, we cannot postpone the launching, the kickoff of the support program. So support program will start with a welcome event beginning of August. And these 10 best proposals and best beneficiaries now will have 1 month to develop the specification and development plan with the support of the technical and business mentors. Then this support program is a funnel process. So after this first stage, we will organize a selection day where we only select the seven most best proposal to complete the support program. Here is where you can find us. So if you have any questions, please contact us. You can contact us through the help desk in the community. In the community, you can also find information about the project, events, and other interest information that can support you in this process. But if you have a specific question that you don't want to ask publicly, you can also contact through the email help desk that is here. Now, time for questions. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you very much, Rosa. All the links and the email address that you mentioned are already on chat, so you can simply copy paste it or open the web and start it for yourself so you have it saved. And there was one question from Alba Rosada. Thank you for that. And I see that Milenko already answered it, but maybe Milenko, you can elaborate on it a little bit more. Alba asked, in the future, after rolling out the pilots, how would be managed any request for access to our services or data?
There is some noise from my side, so sorry for that. As I said, all the integrators, basically, we are supplying this semantic interoperability framework and the components that can be instantiated and fully managed and in full control of the integrators. So you're building your own interoperable ecosystem or tapping into existing one, and let's say using the same rules that all other participants, basically achieving semantic interoperability and configuring the information that you want to share under what conditions with whom. So you can go completely open, or you can really do targeted sharing of information. Finally, there is the service store, which is a front end of the semantic interoperability framework where all the interoperable services are listed. And through there, you can actually basically select services with whom you want to integrate. And there you can see the conditions under which you can actually work and integrate with those services. That applies to your services as well. So on the other side, when you deploy the SURF and you are, let's say, one of the founders of the SURF in your region, then you fully manage how and under what conditions you are expanding and scaling. So who can access and with whom you are actually sharing the information. So it is not that we are building like one big platform where we are exposing the APIs and siphoning in all the information, but basically we allow integrators to build their own ecosystems and comprising platforms, existing platforms or new platforms from the stakeholders with whom they want to create the relationships.
Thank you very much, Milenko. And we have some more questions on our help desk of Interconnect. And Rosa, this one is for you. Is it possible for our company that is a sub-grant beneficiary of the first open call to be also a beneficiary of the second open call of Interconnect?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, there are not any specific restriction for a beneficiary from the first open call to apply to the second one, but there are fund limits, and the European Commission set this limit in 150K. So if you are beneficiary from the first open call and you receive the maximum, you were award with the maximum funds, your company is eligible, but cannot receive more funds. So, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what is the maximum number of partners that can be involved in the second open call consortium?
For me again, right?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
Now, we are looking for individual entities. In this open call, only individual companies can apply. So we are not looking for consortium.
Yeah, you mentioned actually consortium in this recipe, but you meant as a team, right? As a team of one company. So maybe this is the thing that someone got mistaken. Okay, and another one. My company is an SME based in Greece, and we would like to participate in the open call. When it comes to the demonstration, is it possible to do it in other countries that are eligible, such as, for example, Croatia, Bulgaria, and so on?
Yes, as I said at the beginning, companies registered in any European member state plus UK are eligible to participate, but the demonstration should be in all of these member states except Greece, Netherlands, Italy, and the Netherlands.
Yes, and then Netherlands, exactly. And there is also a question about application form. So as we stick to you, Rosa, there is one more for you. Where can I find the character limitation of each section of the application form?
In the description, in the online application form, in the description under each question, and also in the application form that is available in the Red First section. So in the Red First section, you can find the offline application form with all the section, question, description, and characters.
And there is a new question on chat. I believe this one is for maybe for you, Rosa, too, but also maybe for David or Milenko. I have some issues with my computer. Okay, right now it's okay. It was just blinking. It is obligatory to have a liaison with DSO or TSO.
Well, it is a valorization point. It's not mandatory because, for instance, as Milenko explained, we can have access to TSO related data with the transparency portal. So that's a way of introducing your use case. But of course, if you have the DSO, if you can make use of even the tools that you have also from the DSO interface of proposed to do that, you will enrich your case. And this is a competitive call, as many of these calls. So it means that if you have that case, it's a plus on your perspective. So it's not mandatory per se to have the DSO. It's mandatory to include a grid perspective. That's mandatory. If it's via DSO direct, then it's proxy somewhere in between from the DSO. It's the TSO directly with transparency platform. That's okay. So the information, as Milenko posted here, TSO related information, it's publicly available. So up to you to make your case as competitive as possible. I don't know if Milenko wants to add anything to this point.
You can see, for example, on the transparency portal, there is a plethora of data points, let's call them like that. Through this public API, you can obtain them, so you can build your case around those information. Whenever you can provide a finer granularity, it is a better case overall, because then you can target specific users with more actionable grid signals, whether it is from DSO or any other way that you can obtain that information, it is a better case for your application. But as David said, it is a strong case for the application, but not a mandatory one, because there is a transparency portal where TSO level information can publicly be accessed by everyone.
And Milenko, one more question for you, and maybe also for you, David, is will Interconnect provide some sort of containerized solution to simulate the target framework to ensure that no sensitive customer information is exposed to potential development errors?
Yes, of course. Basically, as you can see on the public wiki page, link that I have also provided, the interoperability framework is provided a set of Docker containers that you can instantiate. You can run them on your laptop and test different cases. You can then expand on multiple virtual machines. And when you are satisfied and sure of how it works, you scale. That is the let's say, way that our partners in the consortium and our large-scale pilots were deploying, basically starting from their local machines and now expanding to the cloud providers and so on, basically targeting end consumers again. So you can safely test everything, and when you pinpoint all the risks and handle them, then you scale or go to a more scalable deployment.
Okay, and another question, are businesses as end users for this call are also accepted? We are active in the energy sector, but our customers are manufacturing businesses, not B2C, but B2B. While reading the Q&A, only private end users were mentioned.
Maybe David, you can.
Marta, sorry, I had a bit of a failure with the sound here. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, of course. Are businesses as an end users for this call also accepted?
Again, it's the same question that was made at the beginning from Kale, which is the main focus. The Commission wants to have this open calls to engage consumers. So all of us as end consumers have a role there. Of course, this is not preclude that we can have a combination with, let's say, residential consumers and tertiary consumers. What it's definitely left out of this is, industrial consumers, because that's a very specific case. The important part here is to showcase that the different platforms can transfer and propagate these grid signals that you have access to, either from TSO related base or specialized TSO base. To engage the demand side to react to those signals. And you can compound that information to produce to the end consumer. It's up to you to present a sound strategy for that. Ultimately, the suggestion is to present that as a traffic light system. But that traffic light can embed other information besides just secret information. So all of that can be considered, but ultimately, yeah, it's focused on mainly the residential consumers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the last question from Help Desk is, for the demonstration, the company plans to include customers from several European countries, some of which are eligible and some of which are not. The question is whether or not all of these customers can be included in the total number indicated in the impact section.
Well, they can, and everything related with consumers on member states where we don't have already a pilot run. Yes, of course, it's interesting to showcase in that development that you can also reach out to the countries where demos is already ongoing. But the focus should be on the countries that are not covered there. That's one of the eligibility criteria that Rosa mentioned, and she can probably add a bit more on that. You can always think about extending that, but the purpose is to focus on one specific country that you're addressing this, because even the call itself, it's demanding, and the focus on one country is already quite a challenge. But if you have an outreach solution, you can, for instance, propose that as a potential outreach beyond the participation on the call, which is a good point, because you show that what you're developing here has a future and it propagates further. But I'll leave it up to Rosa, because Rosa knows much more in detail the procedures and the legal fronts of it. So Rosa.
No, I think it was very clear your answer. I think the important, they can show all the potential of the customers around Europe, but we clearly need to identify what are the consumers on the eligible demonstration countries. But as David said, if you have more consumers in other countries that for the reason that the Interconnect project has already use cases there, please show this information also, because as I said, one of the ingredients of this recipe is the European dimension. So in somehow you are showing this European dimension and the potential replicability of this solution in other countries that for this second open call are not eligible for the demonstration.
Mm-hmm. And Kaya asked also if number of engaged customers in impact session, does it include only customers directly participating in app testing, or rather everyone who can be impacted after the open call project?
Well, the first assessment is done direct on those participating in the call. This is a part, Milenko mentioned this is part of the Common European Reference Framework, which will be evolved. The second tier and the second generation of the SURF expected to be produced early next year. And we will be using, in fact, the information and the lessons learned from this open call and also the demonstration in the project to produce relevant outputs for this second tier. So since we're testing this, since we're validating the concept and not, let's say, going European-wise overall, because we don't have the resources to do that. We're just, and just is an understatement, where we have this focus on using the interoperability developments of the project to ensure that this is possible. So only those participating here right now account for. What you can do is, of course, try and foresee a plan for those being involved after the project, which kind of impact you can expect to reach. But that should be based on reasonable assumptions, meaning that, for instance, you already know from your experience that you reach out this kind of impact, then it's you can foresee or expect to have a proportional impact or an impact with this magnitude if we engage further. You can even present this as a key commitment, as we've seen previously from the question that was made by the Spina and from others. We need to include everything else. So everything that creates this idea that the proposal is rich and it goes beyond just a framework here. It's important, but the focus here, again, to be clear, it's on those engaged right now in the open call.
Thank you, David. I don't see any more questions. If you still have some doubts, please feel free to write them on chat or raise your hand. And in the meantime, I just want to mention that the recording of the webinar will be sent to you in the after webinar email, and also you can find this webinar you will find this webinar and the previous one in the Read Me First section of the Interconnect open call, and also on the Interconnect YouTube channel. There is one more. Is there an implementation of data models for use with relational databases?
I mean, well, when it comes to storing the data and serialization, it is again up to you how you want to use that. When transmitting the data or basically sharing, then you apply this serialization process and use the interfaces that the semantic interoperability framework is proposing. So basically, there is a REST API through which JSON serialized graph patterns are used. So more information on that can be found, of course, on the public wiki page under the knowledge engine part or the generic adapter. But when it comes to the database, you are basically ingesting the information into a service that is wrapping the data from the database and sending it to the REST API. So basically, it can be a relational whatever database. There's no constraints there. When unpacking the information coming from the semantic interoperability side of the things, of course, there needs to be some data management to extract information from JSON and map them to your relational database. This is where the serialization process or the service-specific adapters are basically performing. Again, on the public wiki page, you can find some best practices and recommendations how to achieve this serialization process. And yeah, you can build as many data manipulation services in between the generic adapter or this interoperability adapter and your database as you need.
Thank you, Milenko. I don't see any more questions, so I believe we can end this webinar. Right now, I'm stopping the recording.